Catch the latest news on our website tribune.net.ph and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, Tribune Now. The Daily Tribune is one with the nation in facing the COVID-19 crisis, and in line with this, the Daily Tribune digital edition and press reader is now available for free online. You can also download the Daily Tribune app on Apple Store for iOS users and Google Play for Android users to get the latest and most comprehensive news online. Daily Tribune is also inviting everyone to join its community Viber Katribu to get updates on the freshest and hottest news and entertainment stories of the day. Tarcito emoticons are also available on our community Viber. Just click on the link in this video to join.
Hello everyone. Hello Katribu. I'm Tina Maralit.
I'm Vernon Velasco.
And I'm Confi Manalo.
Our special guest anchor for today. And this is
Straight Talk.
Yeah, thank you very much, Tina and Vernon for inviting me on your very interesting show.
Yeah, sure.
So do this the honor of introducing our special guest for today.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Thank you for the privilege. So today we will be joined by we are very lucky to be joined by Mr. David Hardoon. He is the Senior Advisor for Data and Artificial Intelligence for Union Bank of the Philippines, and before that, he was also the former first Chief Data Officer and Head of Data Analytics Group of the Monetary Authority of Singapore. So good morning, Mr. David Hardoon.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you very much for having me.
And thank you very much for joining us, for allowing us to invite you in our show.
Oh, absolutely, my pleasure. I'm looking forward to it. And apologies I couldn't be there with you in Manila, but I'm looking forward to when travel can resume.
Yeah, and we'll be looking forward to having you here. So I'm going to fire off the first questions for David. So big data, I delved a little on this back in my old job. From what I remember of it, it has something to do with analytics, artificial intelligence, data gathering, but that's in the aspect of the media industry. So how does this apply to the banking sector?
Well, in a certain manner, it's actually quite similar. So if you think about it at the end of the day, and if I may, the term big data, artificial machine learning, it's a bunch of different terms. In the end of the day, it's really about how can we uncover patterns? How can we identify behavior? How can we find insights about our consumers that we can center around and provide relevance effectively? That's what it is when you boil down all the technicalities, all the technocrat lingo effectively. It's about patterns and it's about relevance.
In Union Bank, how is AI being accelerated by this very unique opportunity in a few verticals?
So if you think about it, Union Bank over the last 2 to 3 years has been focusing heavily on digitalization. And digitalization is obviously about how do we provide those infrastructure, those capabilities for the consumers to engage in a more rapid, seamless manner with those financial services. Now, data science and AI, in my personal view, is really at the heart of the engine, if not the engine itself, of the digitalization because of that personalization, because of that relevancy. So now I give you the ability of interacting with me whenever, however you want. And on top of that, I can be relevant to you in terms of providing you those services that are just in time, just right, making convenience and ease. So the way we're using it is really about aligning and adapting the existing products to the consumers, as well as creating and identifying new products for those who may not have had it previously.
You mentioned pattern and being relative or relevant. Sorry,
Yes.
but those two words basically they serve the banking industry better. But how will that relevance and pattern now benefit the customers?
Okay, it's a perfect question because it is all about the customer. It's in fact, to me, the world of AI and machine learning is about customer obsession to a certain degree. So if, as a bank, I can understand you better through your engagements with me, through your engagements indirectly with me, I can be, I don't know if you heard the term hyper-personalization. I can be specific for you. You can become my segment of one rather than one of many. So it is all about the customer and putting the customer right at the center.
Can you elucidate further on that? You said that it's about putting the customer at the center. So are we at a point where AI can help Union Bank decide not to offer a loan?
So if you think about it, it's not about offering or not offering a loan. It's about providing that feasibility. So on the one hand, as I mentioned earlier, it is about how we can take existing products and adapt to the customer. And on the other hand, create those new products effectively. Now, if you think of that world where previously people may not have had access to finance, it is how do we now leverage on alternative data? Alternative data meaning non-traditional finance to get a better understanding and a better ability to provide financial offerings and financial loans. It may be different from what people are accustomed to or what is regularly provided, but it's available and it can be provided. And that's effectively what we want. Because once we start building that relationship, once we start building that interactive, we can provide that more relevant and centered service to consumers.
Where is Union Bank in terms of cybersecurity, especially now that there are a lot of data breaches and cyber crimes?
In my previous profession as Chief Data Officer at the Monetary Authority of Singapore, as you can imagine, regulation and governance is at topmost priority. And effectively, everything we're doing, everything we're focusing on is creating this harmonious balance between governance and innovation. So making sure as we are using data to its full extent, we are doing so in a secure and governed manner. So it is a top absolute priority.
You mentioned earlier financial access, and we've been hearing a lot about and offering new products. We've been hearing a lot about financial access, giving financial windows to this, especially the unbanked sector. So, how is Union Bank leveraging data science and artificial intelligence to provide financial access, especially to these unbanked sector or underserved sectors?
One of the major challenges, and I always find a bit kind of uncomfortable calling them unbanked because they have their own mechanism. And at the end of the day, they're outside of the formal financial system. So, but if you think about why that exclusion occurs on outside of the formal financial system, is because they may not have the ability of providing the type of data that is requested from a regulated environment. So the way, as a financial institution, we're going down the path of using data, using artificial intelligence, is looking at alternative data. For example, imagine using your telco data, using your ride-hailing data, using your electricity, whatnot, effectively. Those alternatives, and saying, well, you may not have the ability of providing me statements because you don't have a bank account in another financial institutions or credit card, but you are interacting, you have those services. Let me understand you better through that. And let me now offer you those products based on that understanding. So it's really from a outwards looking in.
So my question, David, we talk about patterns and behavior in terms of big data or data science. So how does Union Bank harness that in serving its customers, especially in this time of a pandemic, wherein face-to-face transactions and movement of people are very limited? But first, before you answer that, we'll be back after this short break.
Bilang bagong mag-asawa, sabay kami natututo sa buhay.
Sabay rin namin inaaral ng mga bayarin sa bahay.
Kahit kami, nagtaka sa biglang laki ng electricity bill namin. Huwag pong mangambang maputulan. Sinisigurado ng Meralco na walang disconnection hanggang September.
Estimated bills lang ang natanggap natin ng March, April at para sa ilan, May. Dahil sa lockdown, isang tabi to para hindi na maguluhan.
Ang May o June ay actual meter reading na. Kung May nagka-actual reading, ibabawas dito ang huling reading bago mag-ECQ. Yan lang po ang ating babayaran hanggang 3 buwang konsumo.
Kung estimated reading sa May at June nagka-actual reading, Ibabawas din dito ang huling reading bago mag-ECQ. Yan lang po ang ating babayaran. Hanggang 4 na buwang konsumo, walang labis. Tandaan, kung ano lang na konsumo,
Yun lang ang babayaran.
ako po si Mateo G.
At ako naman po si Sarge.
G?
G!
Good morning, sir. How may I help you?
Bakit kailangan ko pang pumunta sa bangko?
Oo nga naman, sir. Ba't kailangan pang pumunta sa bangko?
Why not get a UB app so you can do all these without going to the bank? Bank the way you live. UnionBank.
And we're back with Mr. David Hardoon of UnionBank of the Philippines. So, David, going back to my question before we took a break, we were talking about patterns and behaviors of
Relevance.
the relevance for this, for UnionBank to serve its customers. So, how does the company harness this in serving its customers, especially in this time of the pandemic, wherein face-to-face transactions and movement of people are very limited?
No, we all are discovering this new normal for everything it's unfolding. In fact, with all the difficulty that the current situation is posing on many of us, we were just talking about flying earlier. It is, it is it is a use case of the necessity of digitalization and data. Because, to your point, I have an inability of interacting in a one-to-one. So on the one hand is having those digital layers and infrastructure. So now when I pass you a check, or if I pass you a check before the situation, you can still bank it in by using your mobile app application. So that's on the digital level. On a data level, understanding you is, I need to, as quickly as possible, see, well, what is it that you need? And how can I provide you those services? How can I preempt those services to you as an individual or as a segment and quickly adapt in that manner? What is it that you actually need that previously I may have not captured, or previously I may not have need to have captured because you just interacted with me on a continuous basis? So in a way, it is an opportunity to really accelerate and making sure that, as I was mentioning earlier, that personalization, hyper-personalization can occur, and the relevance to you. I mean, we all want to have that centricity on us effectively.
So these lockdown measures that prevented us from meeting face to face has actually accelerated the realization that we need data science or data analytics more, especially with this new normal.
It has, and in fact, if many panels that I've participated in and many other speaking engagements that I've heard, there's always this question of what has been the biggest digital accelerator. Was it your CAO or COVID-19? And for many other institutions, unfortunately, the term is it's been COVID-19 rather than CEO. This is where UnionBank has, over the last several years, invested heavily. Not with respect to preparing to COVID-19, but truly about that narrative of making sure that we want to make sure that, let me give you another example. You don't wake up one day and go, you know something, I want a loan. Why? That's because, I just woke up and I want a loan. No, you got married, you have children, you're going to university, or you're going to school, or you're opening a business. These are moments of life. So how do we put finance back around you and around your moments of life rather than just the product off the shelf? And that's exactly where data can help in the ones who are in a position of providing those financial services understand your moments of life better.
You said personalization is always at the core of your business, but it's really hard to personalize. Let's say just in the matter of the customer service vertical. So how do you personalize customer experience when the bot is actually responding to you? Yeah.
So in fact, you can hyper-personalize when a bot is responding to you. And that's kind of what I mentioned in terms of it can be a segmental one. And that's exactly where the power, if I use that term slightly loosely, of AI is. If you think about a rule, a more traditional approach in how we engage is we basically said, if customer asks for this, say this. If a customer wants that, do that. It's rigid. So whether you come and engage, or whether Tina engages, or whether someone else engages, you roughly get the same responses. You roughly get the same kind of engagement. But now availability of understanding, what time do you like to log on? What time do you transfer? Do you pay your bills on time, or do you pay them early? Do you pay them in part? That can be understood, so that when those bots now engage you, it's not a hard fixed rule. It is more more relevant to you by saying, well, I know you like to pay in advance, so how about I remind you earlier, where someone else was just in time. Having that relevancy. And it can be done at a level of segment of one. The question is whether you would want it. Some people may not want that.
What other tech trends are you accelerating at UnionBank right now?
So the tech trends that we're looking at essentially is, as I mentioned, the two key elements is the digitalization piece as well as the data piece effectively. On the digitalization one, the very strong narrative, because of this necessity and centricity on consumers, is making sure no one is left behind. Absolutely make sure that no one is left behind. And perhaps one of the challenges, if I be honest, with the world of digitalization is that it presumes that you as a customer are able to access those services I can provide, which may not be the case for everyone. So I don't know if you've seen, we now have a few of them running around, Bank on Wheels. The whole idea around Bank on Wheels is we bring digitalization to you. All those services, all those digital capabilities are effectively on the Bank on Wheels that people can actually go engage. And equally, we're actively looking at those type of technologies on how to proliferate and push out the accessibility and finding that middle ground, that hybrid where necessary, to make sure that no one is left behind.
Follow-up question on that. This Bank on Wheel, if I remember correctly, was launched during the height of the lockdown, I think in April. So how was the response with this new product? And is it living up to its expectation, or to your expectation, that this new strategy is leaving nobody behind?
In fact, it's we had a growth of 100%. So we launched the Bank on Wheel because we take a very experimental, very I guess fintechy trial type of approach, where we think of a concept, but we engage our consumers. We see, is that response? And there was response. We have those photos up, social media of the queues and so forth. And like I said, we had a growth of 100%. We launched another Bank on Wheels, and we're seeing that growing effectively. In the end of the day, it's not one extreme or the other, only digital versus only physical. It is finding, as I mentioned, that area whereby we are driving digitalization because it unlocks new types of services that may not have feasible or possible at scale previously. But at the same time, we want to make sure that as a large cohort, people have accessibility to services through such ideas and initiatives such as Bank on Wheels.
Next up, how David sees it. Will banks overhaul their business models to make way for digital ecosystems? Right up after a short break.
Ang Philippine Offshore Gaming Operators o POGO ay isang legitimate business entity na nagbibigay serbisyo sa offshore gaming para lamang sa mga manlalarong nasa abroad sa pamamagitan ng internet. Ang mga serbisyong handog nito ay katulad ng casino games at sports betting na pwedeng laruin kahit wala sa casino. Sa Pilipinas, walang POGO operators. Tanging POGO service providers lamang dahil nagaganap ang mga laro sa labas ng bansa.
In the days ahead, we need to lean on the values that make us a great company, the Malasakit, for which we are known, and the understanding that, as San Miguel, we stand for something far greater than ourselves. That we have the responsibility to extend a hand to those who most need it. It is our sense of duty and obligation, pagkakaisa and malasakit, that will see us through these difficult times. Kwentong Malasakit.
Before we took a break, we asked David if banks will overhaul their business models to make way for digital ecosystems. So how do you see it, David?
I believe that banks definitely need to relook into a lot of the existing practices. And as we kind of discussing earlier, the COVID situation has in fact resulted in many banks accelerating their digital journey than would have been done previously. So in effect, absolutely, because think about it. When you're dealing with a country where you have 65% out of the formal financial system, to be able to engage everyone, to be able to provide that service to everyone, we can't just do it purely based on the traditional approach. This is where we can augment, and that's a key word, by the way. So to me, AI isn't artificial intelligence, it's augmented intelligence. Augment our existing processes, create new ones, augment our relationship managers, people in the branch, to have that relevance, as we mentioned earlier, specificity, and most importantly, scalability and speed to provide that access to everyone.
So there's a phone-in question. There's a question from one of our viewers.
Okay, it's from the Prosa de la Cruz Paiso. What can you say if a draft version was lost in a computer glitch? So it's kind of very...
If I can try to repeat, if a draft version
was lost in a computer glitch. So it's kind of techy for me to understand.
I'll presume in terms of what they're referring to by a draft version, but perhaps, if I may say, one of the most important things, and I truly mean this, perhaps the several years working for a regulator has already given me a further appreciation of this, is the necessity of governance. And everything we're doing, everything we're building is assuring that it's not just about the customer centricity, it's assuring the safety of the customers. So governance helps create firmer, stronger, and more resilient innovation. That is exactly the approach that we are taking. So I would presume there are many safety nets to assure that these situations don't occur or are able to be identified and managed appropriately.
Yeah, so going back to what you mentioned earlier about no one being left behind in terms of banking, especially with UnionBank, it's a reality that many Filipinos are still not that aware of big data, of data science and technology advancements. So in relation to this, there are many Filipinos who are still technophobes, for lack of a better term. So how are you going to entice consumers to embrace technology in this new normal, especially when it comes to addressing their banking needs?
Or financial needs.
I'm just agreeing to jump in. So, if I may very gently push back, actually, I actually disagree. I think Filipinos are immensely technocentric. If you think about one of the first countries that adopted mobile phones, the biggest users almost of Facebook as it came out. So it's about how it's created. I'm a big believer that this world of AI needs to be hidden in the background. Like I said, it's the engine. It's not the surface. If I come to you and I start talking about a lot of very technical stuff, you kind of go like, okay, overwhelmed. But if it's presented in a very human-centric approach, like you use your phone. Your phone right now has a lot of AI in it. It has a lot of machine learning, and you're not even aware of that. That's, to me, the goal. So at the end of the day, this harmonization and oscillation on a customer centricity should be done in a way that is simply fluid, and it just happens, and it can be done in the appropriate manner. So I have a lot of faith in the Filipinos picking this up rapidly.
So we're unfortunately we are running out of time.
Yeah, and we have a lot more questions for David.
Yeah, me too.
Hopefully we can have you back again.
I'd love to. This is awesome. Thank you very much.
So before we go, any final words to our viewers, especially to UnionBank consumers, customers?
Absolutely. So to me, we're with all the challenges of COVID and the current new normal that's happening, we're really at the cusp of a brave new world. Absolutely. Where there's creation and alignment of services, products, and relevance. And to me, it's a matter of embracing it. And it's something that is being done in collaboration. So the more feedback, the more engagement, the better. So I'm looking forward to what's going to come next. And hope the consumers, both existing UBP customers or the ones who will become UBP customers, will thoroughly enjoy this.
Thank you very much, Mr. David Hardoon.
Yes,
Thank
the
you.
UnionBank Senior Advisor for Data and Artificial Intelligence. It was nice having you with us today. Until next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hope to have you here again.
So, guys, in that short discussion with David,
Yeah, we learned a lot. It's data analysis or data gathering is really very crucial to advance even small scale businesses. You can use it to further your business models or business strategies.
Yeah, and it's really, especially with everything that's going on, like you know, it's part of the new reality, not even a new normal. It's our reality now.
It
That
allows you to introduce new products so that everyone, even in the remotest areas in the country, can be served.
it's essential in addressing needs of consumers nowadays, especially like what I said earlier. Everything is limited,
Yeah, you
especially
can use
with
it.
face-to-face
You can use it to
transactions.
understand their needs.
And contrary to the notion, diba,
It's not scary at all.
it's not scary pala. It's simple.
That's what David
Sabi nga ni
says.
David, it's not the engine, diba? It's at the
Yeah.
surface, it's the engine.
Your mobile phone has plenty of machine learning capabilities.
Exactly.
We just don't know how to utilize it.
And with that, it has been another interesting discussion here on Straight Talk. Once again, this has been Tina Maralit.
I am Vernon Velasco.
And I'm Confi Manalo.
And this has been
Straight
Straight
Talk.
Talk.
Catch the latest news on our website tribune.net.ph and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, Tribune Now. The Daily Tribune is one with the nation in facing the COVID-19 crisis, and in line with this, the Daily Tribune digital edition and press reader is now available for free online. You can also download the Daily Tribune app on Apple Store for iOS users and Google Play for Android users to get the latest and most comprehensive news online. Daily Tribune is also inviting everyone to join its community Viber Katribu to get updates on the freshest and hottest news and entertainment stories of the day. Tarcito emoticons are also available on our community Viber. Just click on the link in this video to join.
Araneta City, home to the country's first indoor shopping mall, the world's original Thrilla, and the first ever Bini Bini pageant. Now a place for your first win, your first catch, your first home, your first big break, your first date, and even your first love. Araneta City, the city of firsts.
With these cell sites, it affords us better cooperation and communication with the outside world. Because it is vital for FU and RMF to have this. We are now dependent on this cellular signal, and it has helped us a lot. Connectivity is not a problem because we allowed these cell sites to prevail and to be on our roof deck and our helipad. Hindi tayo mawalan ng signal sa lahat ng rooms namin dahil may cell site tayo sa taas. It's one of our major advantages. I think that's the greatest decision that I was a part of, because if not, we would probably be in a worse case right now. I'm thankful that we allowed these cell sites to be installed. I'd like to think and hope that all hospitals have that. We have not had any case of cancer regarding cell sites. As a matter of fact, we employ many cell sites and many boosters inside the hospital. For us, it has saved lives. I think with this new normal, we have realized that we are more dependent on this technology. Cell sites, if not connectivity, are a must.